You're locked in live, and I'm your host, Algenon Cash. Welcome back this morning. Thank you all for joining us. I've got a good friend returning back to the show for this short live segment. We've got House Majority Whip John Hardister. Also, John Hardister is a leading member of the ABC committee. We're going to be talking about Governor Cooper giving bars and restaurants a bit of an early Christmas present by allowing mixed cocktails to go. I know that that's a hot subject right now around the state, so we wanted to get John lined up for this conversation. Before we kick into the main conversation, I always want to remind you guys, if you are not a subscriber to the YouTube channel, you definitely want to go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're putting up fresh content every single day, but you got to be a subscriber to get the notifications. Also, if you want to support this show, reach out to me. Let me know if you're interested in being a sponsor or a contributor, or if you just want to make a simple donation. Obviously, it takes a lot of hard work to pull together the content that we produce on a daily basis. So certainly keep that in mind. And one way that you can support the show that doesn't cost you anything, there's a little button down there that you see like. You can like this, you can share it with a friend, and just spread the word about what we're doing here with Locked In. So you're locked in, I'm locked in. Representative Hardister, you're locked in as well. Welcome back, man. How you doing?
Hey, Algenon, thanks for having me. Doing great. Locked in, kind of like you are, literally and figuratively, but can't complain. I'm doing well.
Well, I appreciate you jumping on for this. Obviously, this is going to be a short live segment. Really wanted to highlight the order that Governor Cooper put into action or enacted yesterday, allowing mixed cocktails to go. As you know, this is something that you and I have been working on together for probably most of this year. And we were able to get that bill passed out the House. The Senate sort of fumbled it around. We didn't get it passed through the Senate. But now Governor Cooper has taken executive action and allowed for mixed cocktails to go, at least temporarily. I guess my first question as we go ahead and just kick into it, Representative, why now? Why do you think the governor had a change of heart at this moment?
That's a good question. I can't speak for the governor, but I can relay what the governor has said. I think part of the reason is the governor wants to help businesses that have been forced to close by virtue of his orders, bars and restaurants. Obviously, have had a difficult time. This might help them a little bit. I think also the governor, as he said in his executive order, is that he wants to reduce congregate settings. He doesn't want people gathering in bars and restaurants and drinking. That, I believe, is the impetus for the curfew and for the restrictions that are in place. So it appears the governor sees this as a catalyst to reduce people gathering in bars and restaurants if they can get a drink to go. So to answer your question, I think the governor probably got some pressure from folks in the industry to do something to provide them with some form of revenue, the ability to enhance their revenue, to move some of their inventory. And again, it goes along with the governor's philosophy that we need to reduce gatherings. And it's worth noting that the curfew, although it's a 10 p.m. curfew, you can go out to to purchase food and beverages. There's actually an exemption in the curfew for that purpose. There was some confusion early on whether or not this order would comport with the curfew. And the fact is that because a mixed drink is a beverage, you can actually go out after 10 p.m. So, the reaction so far has been interesting. I've posted on social media the order, which I support, as you alluded to earlier. I think the order makes sense. It's a good thing. It's temporary. It's not permanent, but a lot of folks in the industry are having a tough time. This might help them out. But people can be somewhat disconcerted when you're dealing with alcohol. But of course, the containers have to be sealed. People can currently purchase beer and wine to go. The cocktail, the mixed drink will have to be sealed, and of course, the person who picks it up will have to be ID'd. If someone delivers it, they have to be at least 21 years of age because a business can deliver to a customer. So, Algenon is uncharted territory. We never thought we'd be in this kind of situation before. And, it'll be interesting to see how it goes over the next few weeks, because we are having a spike in cases now. So, hopefully things will go well.
You mentioned that we're in uncharted territory, and I think that's probably the best two words to describe all of 2020, uncharted territory. And, for some of us like myself who spend so much time studying, this type of legislation and working with the General Assembly, help us understand, how was the governor able to enforce this temporary action without actually navigating through your committee and the General Assembly at large?
That's an excellent question. The fact is, to be candid with you, I'm not certain the governor has the authority to issue this kind of order. There's some gray area, and it's a point of contention. It's a debatable topic. What kind of power does a governor have when you're in a state of emergency, as it relates to ABC regulation? Now, one side would say that the governor does not have this authority. It would take an act of General Assembly. The other side might say that the executive branch controls the ABC. The governor appoints the chair of the ABC, so that's an executive branch function. Therefore, the governor has the authority. But then the other side would say, well, wait a minute, the governor can't circumvent state law. And then you have the question about the state of emergency and what kind of power the governor has. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, my understanding is that the governor probably does not have this authority. But that said, I actually support this action. As you mentioned before, the House passed legislation that contained a provision that would allow businesses to sell mixed drinks to go. It didn't make it through the Senate. I'm not exactly sure why. But I think this is an important policy temporarily to help businesses that are having a tough time. So therefore, I support the action that the governor's taken. But the question is whether or not it's legal is debatable. And I think the governor staff understands that. I spoke to them yesterday. They think they have a good case to make. But, the way this works is the order will stand unless somebody objects to it. If someone were to file a lawsuit, challenging it, you go to court, there could be an injunction, a judge can make a ruling. Unless that happens, I think the order will stand. I can tell you that it's my understanding that leadership in the General Assembly supports it. I know the governor reached out to leadership in the House, leadership in the Senate. He's taken it before the Council of State. So I think there's support for it. But Algenon, it's possible somebody could file a lawsuit and challenge it.
Yeah, I've heard that Speaker Moore as well as Majority Leader Berger, that's on the Senate side, both supported the action, as well as I do. I mean, obviously, as we discussed, I mean, this was something that you and I have been talking about most of 2020, and I do believe that it will help. It's not a silver bullet. It's not gonna automatically transform any restaurant or bar overnight. But like anything else, it's just one of those additional tools in the toolbox, right? You can't build a house with just a hammer. You're going to need a hammer, a screwdriver, and multiple tools to be able to do it. Now, with that said, and I'm sure you've already saw this, I mean, there's been a strong reaction from a handful of bar owners on Facebook already that don't support this action. They think it's a bit of a waste of time, and they're frustrated. Representative, what would you say to those people this morning that see this as not so good of a move by the governor?
So I would say a few things. First is I understand the frustration. This is by no means a panacea. It's not going to solve the problems. For those businesses that are really suffering, it might not help them much at all, but it could help some. Also, I would say if a business doesn't want to do it, they don't have to. There's nothing that compels, a restaurant or bar to sell mixed drinks to go. If you don't like the idea, you certainly don't have to participate. For those that are concerned about public safety, all the laws that apply to drunk driving are still in place, and people could ostensibly pour a mixed drink at home and go drive, which is a terrible idea. But all those laws for public safety are still in place. But for the business owners, my position is, if I were the governor, I would do things a little bit differently. I might be a little bit less restrictive than the governor. I probably would allow businesses to function a little bit more. I've said publicly on the curfew, I don't think it's a good idea because it's not really enforceable. I don't think it will be very effective at combating the virus. I think there's a better way to protect public safety as it relates to the virus, but also allow the economy to function. But Algenon, I'm not the governor, so I don't get to make that call. The General Assembly has attempted to intervene on some of these issues to maybe put more parameters on the powers that the governor has. But, the governor vetoed the legislation we passed, and the Republicans who control the General Assembly don't have enough votes to override the governor. So, it's kind of a situation where the General Assembly doesn't have a tremendous amount of ability at this point to dictate what the governor can or cannot do. And the governor was reelected. So, we're trying to work together with the governor as much as we can. But again, I would say to the businesses that are suffering, I get it. I know it's a difficult situation for, a lot of us. And, if I were the governor, I'd do things differently, but that's not the case.
Well, who knows? 2024 is coming at us fast, and we may see Representative Hardister go ahead and throw his hat in the ring and see if he can move into the governor's mansion. I do want to ask a different question. One question that I've seen crop up quite a bit on Facebook that I've also got that I'm interested in. Do we have any idea what does the sealed container need to look like? I mean, I'm thinking that this can't be a styrofoam cup with a lid on it. It's got to have some kind of a seal where you could tell if it's been broken, similar to if you went to the ABC store. Have we seen anything coming out of the governor's office that gives us insight on what type of sealed container must be used if you want to participate in these mixed cocktails to go?
Yeah, so I glanced at the order earlier this morning. I didn't see anything on that specifically because I had the same question. It might be a situation where the ABC will have to promulgate rules on exactly how that's supposed to be done. But I would envision it being some sort of container, not a styrofoam type, but something that has a lid that you could seal. I'm not exactly sure what that'll look like, but I would think that the ABC will probably have to clarify that fairly soon because that's something that obviously businesses will have to know if they want to comply with the order. But specifically, I don't have an answer for you at this time, but I'll certainly try to find out.
And what's the likelihood? I mean, you guys returned back into session on January 27th. The order goes to January 31st. As we mentioned before, the House did pass legislation this year that would have allowed mixed cocktails to go. There was some support on the Senate side, but they fumbled the ball at the 11th hour. What's the likelihood that this particular measure goes permanent in the upcoming session?
So I don't think it'll become permanent. I think it could be extended. We're seeing some things now that are just temporary, like, tax deferment. You can file your taxes later. Some things that we're doing like virtual telemedicine, things like that are, temporary. Some of the typical regulations have been waived. Now, some things will be made permanent, like telemedicine. I think that's something we should probably make permanent. But as it relates to cocktails to go, I don't think that's something that would be made permanent. But we're in extenuating circumstances now. So yeah, I could see a situation where the General Assembly would have legislation that would do a number of things to try to help some of these businesses, whether that be, tax forgiveness, tax deferment, fee forgiveness, fee deferment, things like that, for a period of time. I will note, however, because some people have asked me about this, that the state can't print money like the federal government. We have this $900 billion package that Congress is passing. The federal government can print money. We can't do that. We do have a surplus at the state level, but we're trying to maintain that so we can fund all our core services. But there are a number of things that we want to do to try to help industries that have really been impacted by COVID-19. So I'd imagine you'll see legislation roll out sometime in January, but at this point, I don't know exactly what the details are, but I'll be sure to let you know.
And, I continue to hear from a lot of bar owners. In fact, I talked to a bar owner, actually they're a restaurant owner, but they operate a bar last week, and they are actually in danger of losing their ABC permit because they can't pay the fee. Is this something that's on the General Assembly's radar for the upcoming session? Are you going to take a look at like ABC permit fees, which would certainly give some relief to bar owners?
Yes, 100%. Whether it's forgiveness or some form of deferment on that, or if we could even provide grants, because the way I see it is there's a lot of businesses that have been impacted, but some have done well. And there's some that have really been hit hard. And as you know very well, hospitality, restaurants, travel, tourism has been really hit hard by this. So whatever we do, we need to try to focus on those industries that have been impacted the most throughout this pandemic. So yes, that's absolutely something that we will consider, and I think we'll get something done.
Well, Representative, I appreciate you making time. I promised you that I wasn't going to keep you the full 30. I appreciate you making time for a quick, short segment just to give us a little insight on what's going on with the newest executive order. Again, I think both you and I support the order. I know some people are frustrated with the decision, but it's not a, as you said, it's not a panacea. And I do think it's something that will support those businesses that decide to participate in it. I also see that house of yours, that new house of yours, is coming along just fine. That's not a virtual backdrop, right? Like that's the actual house, right?
No, this is the real deal. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's coming along well, man. So you're doing good. You mentioned the stimulus, the $900 billion stimulus bill. I've got Mark Walker, Representative Mark Walker. He will be locking in at 11:30. So come back to the page. Join us here in about 40 minutes. We're going to be breaking down the $900 billion stimulus bill that just passed out of Congress and is heading its way to the White House for signature now. Again, John, I appreciate you locking in. I appreciate my audience for joining us. And until next time, y'all stay locked in.
Thanks a lot.